Oscar Piastri led a McLaren 1-2 in the Spanish Grand Prix, but the story of the race was those last 6 laps, a 6 lap dash to the line, where a lot happened, especially if you're in Max Verstappen's Red Bull car, contact with Leclerc, contact with Russell, and the driver is looking like he could get a race ban if he's not careful in the next few races. GP Blog are on the ground in Barcelona. Kim Hoefnagel has been there all weekend, and what a way for it to come to a conclusion like this, Kim. George Russell not particularly happy with that contact, and the FIA taking a very dim view of the issue.
Everyone kind of expected Barcelona to be really calm and quiet and peaceful, but that's not what happened. So yeah, we had the safety car, which ran actually really, really long. Eventually, we had the restart, and that's when, well, the drama started. Max and Russell came really close, but at some point, the two of them had contact. Max had contact with Leclerc, and Russell had damage. It was insane. Max was blaming Russell, was being told that he needed to give the position back. Max didn't want to give the position back, and eventually was handed a 10-second time penalty, which got him all the way back to P10. 1 point for Max Verstappen and Red Bull Racing, because Yuki Tsunoda did not score either. Not a good weekend for Red Bull.
And the FIA ended up giving 3 penalty points over to him. He's already sitting at 8 at the time of the race starting. So he's now got 11 points, which means he's 1 away from the race ban. And of course, George Russell saying some words that it sounds like Max wasn't giving the best example for children who might be watching.
Yeah, Russell was not impressed by Max. He kind of showed up in a media pen really angry, but still quite calm, surprisingly, considering the circumstances. But he said, look, I don't know what happened either. I was just as surprised as you guys were. But what an example to set for the kids at home that look up to Formula One drivers. And yeah, he was just not impressed. And eventually he also was asked, so is Max the only driver that would do this to you? And he said, yeah, well, in Formula One, there is one British driver in Formula E who would do the same thing, obviously meaning Dan Ticktum. So yeah, it's been really fun with Russell in the media, Ben, to say the least.
FIA's view on this now, that's 3 penalty points. It's going to be very difficult for them, very difficult for Max to have to toe the line. It's very easy to end up getting a single point here and there for what I'd call administrative errors. How is Red Bull handling this? Because they're going to go into the next race in Canada kind of wary about any sort of issue. And what was Max's reaction to Russell saying that he's not a good example to kids?
He said, next time I'll bring some tissues for him. Yeah, we weren't supposed to laugh, but that kind of made us all chuckle a little bit in the media event. Yeah, Max, he didn't want to talk about it. He was done about it. He said, I have my opinion. Yours is his opinion. Yeah, let's talk about the race, because up until this moment, it went quite well.
Speaking of the race, then, he was in a position where he was fighting with the McLarens, and it was a strange strategy that it looked like Red Bull were trying to do a feint on McLaren, maybe to suggest that we were going to go for the 2-stop strategy. It ended up being a 4-stop, I think it was, in the end, after the safety car. Max on the hard tyres. It just seemed that Red Bull was throwing everything strategy-wise and nothing was working today.
Yeah, so we spoke to Christian Horner after all of this, and he kind of explained we were on a 3-stop strategy. It was going quite well. McLaren were on a 2-stop strategy, and at the moment, it was great until we got the safety car. Then they were left with a really difficult situation. Do we keep Max out on soft tires that had been 40 used for over 8 laps? Christian said we felt that it was the better option, but yeah, it was not. Max was pretty annoyed about it. He was pretty frustrated. And Christian even said that probably led to the whole situation with Russell, because Max was he was not in the mood and he was frustrated.
It did seem to echo something else that happened in Spain many, many years ago in the 90s, of course, when Schumacher did that red mist drive into Villeneuve at Jerez. Was Horner suggesting that it's just simple frustration, no big deal, and trying to brush it under the carpet a little bit?
Yeah, I mean, he kept saying the entire media session, I haven't spoken to Max. So he kind of didn't really give an answer to any of our questions about the incident. So all we got was Max was frustrated, Max was upset, and yeah, that's it. that explains the whole situation, apparently.
From Drive to Survive next season, I guess. It was a big flashpoint moment of the season so far. It wasn't a good day for Lewis Hamilton either. He ended up being frustrated on the radio, having to give a place to Leclerc early in the race, which might have actually cost Leclerc had the safety car not come in. It took a while for Ferrari to get that decision. But there were more team radio messages from Lewis being particularly annoyed at how long the safety car was out. And then he ended up losing places when the safety car did go in. So it might have been beneficial if the safety car lasted the entire race. Another not good day in the cockpit of Lewis Hamilton.
Yeah, it was actually quite funny because when the safety car was out, we were just with the journalists among ourselves, we were just talking about how they were basically wasting time that we could spend having an actual good race with three cars that had just gone onto fresh tires, be it Max on a set of parts, but still fresh tires. And when we were discussing this, we hear a radio from Hamilton going, "What are they doing? Wasting laps." And that kind of made us chuckle. But in the end, he probably did want that safety car to last till the end because, he was overtook by none other than, you will never guess it, Nico Hulkenberg. Yeah, the team principal was pretty happy with that. He actually emphasized that both the Ferrari drivers were overtaken this race by them. So they had a pretty good race, but Hamilton not so much. He was not happy when he came to the media pen, and eventually we were like, "Would you rather leave?" And he said, "Yeah." So we let him go.
It's always funny when you see Lewis with his heart on his sleeve because when he's
Yeah.
down, that driver is down. Tricky day for them. Leclerc obviously ended up getting the podium, so another day of split fortunes for Ferrari. It must be grating on them, but he might be happy that he's not an Aston Martin driver. Lance Stroll didn't even make it to the race today. It was a 19-car race that had that drama at the end, but yeah, Stroll, an unusual absentee because it came after qualifying. They talked about having an issue for a while, but it seemed to only come to a problem after qualifying rather than before the race weekend started. What news do you have from the Aston Martin camp?
Yeah, it was a bit of a weird situation, actually. I had literally left the paddock, I think, 5 minutes prior to this news dropping. I was actually talking to one of the press officers from Aston Martin afterwards. And yeah, right as I was leaving, they were also leaving after dropping that little bomb. But yeah, apparently Lance, for the longest time ago, he had an injury in his hand, wrist area. And apparently it's been hurting for quite some time. And he's now been advised to actually, sit it out. But what's interesting is that the BBC then dropped the news that there might be something more going on. It's apparently not related to each other, but apparently after qualifying yesterday, Lance had a little bit of an angry moment, a frustrated moment. And I will say, when I saw him in the media pen yesterday, he did look really frustrated. It does add up. I mean, I kind of figured it was Lance Stroll being Lance Stroll because he usually isn't really the happy media kind of guy anyway. But yeah, it seems that there was more happening. But because the regulations say that a driver has to either do a free practice or qualifying run to show that they can, do the same times as the rest of the drivers. Yeah, they couldn't put anyone in a car. So we had 19 cars this weekend. And as for next race in Canada, which if Lance ends up missing that would be really sad because it's his home race. And obviously every driver wants to be there for their home race. But what I've understood is that they don't know if he'll be able to drive. And if he can't drive, they also don't know who will be replacing him because the timing of the Canadian Grand Prix is that it's exactly the same time as the 24-hour of Le Mans. And the reserve drivers, Felipe Drugovich and Stoffel Van Dorn, are both in the 24 hours of Le Mans. They do have a third driver, but yeah, he doesn't have his super license at the moment, so he's not allowed to drive. My personal guess would be that Drugovich skips the Le Mans and just drives the race because he's been waiting for this chance for so long. Honestly, he'd be dumb to give this opportunity up.
We'll have to wait and see. I think my personal choice would be the glorious return of Sebastian Vettel to come back from retirement, go back in green. And who wouldn't want to see an Alonso and Vettel combination in the same team? That would be quite a sight. But we'll find out soon. GP Blog will be on the ground in Canada, so we'll be talking everything for Paddock Update from Montreal. But Kim, you're having a great weekend. It's all over now. You can rest, especially after that last 6 laps. So thank you for everything you've brought to us from the paddock, from Barcelona. And thank you, everybody else, for watching.